of guests from the India ASEAN missions of Singapore, missions of Brunei. We already have a representative and a couple of more missions, but I think they are stuck somewhere in traffic. I hope they will join us in due course. Without further ado, I would like to request the speakers and dignitaries of our first session to please come on the dais. I would request our Professor Rajan Sudesh Ratna to please come on the dais. Then Dr. T.K. Ramachandran, sir, can you please come and join us? His Excellency Carlito Nunes, may I request you to please come and join us on the dais? We were expecting His Excellency Ambassador of Malaysia to join us for this event, but unfortunately something came up. So he has sent us the recorded message. He was not in a position to join today because of some urgent work. But he has been kind enough to send us the recorded message. Before we start, I just want to brief you about this series. So I think most of you know that 2026 is being celebrated as ASEAN-India Year of Maritime Cooperation. So at ASEAN-India Centre at RIS, we have started this series. So we have put together 10 seminar series. We started with broader geopolitical issues in the maritime domain in March. That was the first roundtable discussion. We had 2 sessions there. Then the next was on leveraging the synergy between IPOI and AOI. That was the last one. And today we have the third, which is fostering maritime connectivity and enhancing supply chain resilience between ASEAN and India. So we started from a broad perspective, and now we have started going to the more nuanced or more focused themes. So this is the third seminar or roundtable in the series of these 10 events which we have planned. For the first session, second session, we had the privilege of having Excellency Ambassador of Philippines who joined and deliver the remark. Today we are joined by the ambassadors of Timor-Leste and the recorded message from Malaysia. So what we are trying to do is we are engaging all the ASEAN mission. That's why we have planned this 10 seminar series. Apart from this, just to brief about the ASEAN-India Centre's activity, we have also planned a couple of big things on the issue of maritime-related issues. One is the Blue Economy Workshop, which we will be doing somewhere in July or August. Then we also have planned for this year's ES Conference on Maritime Security Cooperation. So these are 2 other big events on the maritime-related issue which we will be doing. So I won't take much of your time since we are already 5 minutes late. So now I would request my senior colleague, Professor Rajan Sudesh Ratna, to deliver the initial remarks. Sir, would like to.
Good morning, everybody. Excellencies, distinguished panelists, ladies, colleagues and friends, a warm welcome to you. And first of all, I would like to thank Pankaj and his team for organizing this roundtable discussion, which is very, very timely. It is also a pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of the Director General of RIS. Unfortunately, because of certain urgent exigency, he has to leave and I have to represent him to this roundtable discussion on fostering maritime connectivity and enhancing supply chain resilience between India and ASEAN. We are also lucky that we have excellencies already Pankaj has told. So we have His Excellency Ambassador Nunes from the Republic of Timor-Leste. We have Excellency Penny Gran Abu Bakr He is the Deputy Chief of Mission of the High Commission of Brunei Darussalam. We are still waiting for Deputy High Commissioner from Embassy of Singapore and Minister Consular from Embassy of Indonesia. I also am thankful for my colleague, Mr. Ramachandran, who is a former secretary to the Ministry of Shipping and in the Government of India, and who have all joined physically here. And I would also like to thank Dato, His Excellency Muzaffar Shah Mustafa, the High Commissioner of Malaysia, who will be giving a video message. Friends, this roundtable could not have been at more appropriate time than now, knowing fully well that the 80% of the global trade or the commerce, energy flows happen through maritime routes. And the entire supply chain, what we are talking about, is dependent on the maritime transportation. And these routes are not only the transport channel, but they are the backbone of economic growth, efforts to regional integration, and developmental aspirations of various economies. In this context, this maritime space linking India and ASEAN is of particular importance. ASEAN-India already have FTA, which also is now 2006-9 we signed, so it's more than 15 years. 10 years is the dialogue which Pankaj has told. So we have deep-rooted historical linkage as well. And this represents one of the most dynamic economic corridors in the Indo-Pacific, but yet hosting some of the busiest sea lines of communication. Therefore, this is not only a logistics or transportation issue, it is more of a geo-economic engagement between India and ASEAN. ASEAN sits on the crossroad of major global trade routes connecting the India and the Pacific Ocean, while India occupies a central position along the critical sea lanes. Over the years, the maritime trade has become backbone of India and ASEAN economic engagement, and the supply chains are becoming slightly more complex than they were, and with that, the risks surrounding the transportation is also seen in the recent global developments, which we are seeing through a geopolitical conflicts which are happening in the region. Whether it is a pandemic or it's other conflict which is happening in our part of the world, or whether it's a climate change, all of them can affect the backbone of these global trade, that is the maritime transportation, as well as it is already affecting the supply chain. On top of that, the price volatility, the inflation, and the other challenges which the countries would face. Now, therefore, it is very important that emphasis is given on resilience, diversification, and secured connectivity. And that brings to the core of today's discussion. How do we strengthen maritime connectivity in a way that supports more resilient and efficient supply chains? How do we ensure that our connectivity systems are not only efficient but also secure and sustainable? Challenges are known, whether it is infrastructure gap, regulatory differences, uneven digitalization or a digital divide, what we call, the security concerns, and therefore what we need to do is collectively find the solution for all of us. And therefore, greater coordination, practical cooperation, and a policy coherence is required between India and ASEAN. I'm very happy, and I must congratulate Pankaj again for that this event I could see, it brings the policy makers, it brings the scholars, industry representatives, and maritime practitioners from both ASEAN and India to explore practical solutions And the objective is not only to discuss issues but identify actionable pathways for strengthening connectivity and reducing vulnerabilities. I am confident that these panels and the experts who would be speaking in the panel would be discussing all these issues, and I am hopeful that the maritime connectivity and supply chain resilience would no longer be seen as an optional but a necessity and center to economic viability, stability, and the future growth. India and ASEAN have both to gain if work together, and I wish you all a very successful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for setting the tone of for today's deliberation. Now I would request Dr. T.K. Ramachandran, former Secretary, Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India. We are fortunate that after his inning with the government, he has joined CIMEC, which is a center at RIS. So I would request, sir, to deliver your remark. Thank you, sir.
Namaskar and good morning to all of you. His Excellency Carlito Nunes, Ambassador of Timor-Leste, Shri Rajan Sudesh Ratna from the Dakshin Centre, Dr. Vasisht, and all other delegates who've come here to participate in the deliberations this morning and then perhaps in the afternoon as well on fostering maritime connectivity and enhancing supply chain resilience between India and ASEAN. To all of you, I first wish you a good morning and hope that you will have very fruitful discussions and deliberations over the course of this day. Now, India and ASEAN share a very glorious history over a couple of millennia. And these are the countries in Southeast Asia with whom we had maritime connectivity and trade right since the early centuries of the first millennium, CE. In fact, this was part of the gold route. And if some of you have read the Golden Route, which was penned by William Dalrymple, it was first the Western Asian countries like Oman and Saudi Arabia, and after that the Mediterranean Sea. That connectivity was important. Later on, the entire center of gravity shifted to Southeast Asia. So we have a long history not just of maritime connectivity with Southeast Asia, but also of culture, of language, of scripts, business. I mean, there's a huge literature on this. So today, when we talk of fostering maritime connectivity, it is just a continuation of what has been a historical fact. And it is a wonderful opportunity for all of you to get to know what was done in the past so that that can inform what is proposed to be done in the future. Now, the blue economy, as you're all aware, comprises many sectors. It's a huge spectrum that we are addressing, from ships and vessels and shipping and ports to fisheries and oceanography and ocean technology and ocean minerals, seabed minerals, mining, geology, geophysics. I mean, it's an entire spectrum. So this has to be the background in which we discuss issues today. You all might have heard of the Vision 2030 which the Honorable Prime Minister released as far as the shipping sector, port shipping and waterway sector is concerned in 2021. And then 2023 we also released the Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047 for India. This was for India. But one of the key issues, one of the key themes there is a focus on maritime connectivity with the rest of the world, primarily with West Asia and with Southeast Asia, with ASEAN and many of the Indo-Pacific countries. And these countries are extremely important from a point of view of supply chain. All the happenings in recent times, whether it's COVID or whether it's the Ukraine crisis, the Red Sea crisis, and now the Gulf-Iran crisis, all of them have brought to the fore the fact that supply chains need to be resilient, connectivity has to be maintained, and if that doesn't happen, the world is going to be in for dire straits. We are going to be in dire straits. One single blockade at one single location is enough to impinge upon the rest of the world, the economies of many countries, supply chains, not just energy. There are so many other downstream industries which are affected. So it is in the fitness of things that we are discussing all this today. But maritime connectivity should, as far as the IMO regulations, norms are concerned, irrespective of geographical, geostrategic, or political, or other events, the connectivity should always continue. There should be no disruption. There are many conventions in the IMO, under the IMO, which protect these routes, protect the seafarers, protect the goods, the cargo, the rules which govern all of them. Yet, we are seeing in recent times, to our consternation, that some of these are being not followed. And therefore, the crisis that we have on hand, with ASEAN, and some of the ASEAN countries, the total GDP, if you look at it, it's as big, or equivalent to India. And there are two very important economic blocks in the Indo-Pacific region. And we need to really foster economic connectivity, maritime connectivity between these two super blocks. What does this connectivity enhancement mean? It means looking at enhanced infrastructure, not just at the ports, but in many other maybe logistic networks across the nations. I'll give you a simple example. You might have maritime connectivity between India and Singapore, or India and Port Klang, or India and Timor-Leste. But when you want connectivity across regions, you have to have maritime, rail, road, waterways, all of them should be part of this network, which means infrastructure standardization is important. Similarly, processes are important. If last year we launched this digital Maitri corridor between India and West Asia, between UAE. So that means that the processes have to be standardized, they have to be well understood, there should be clarity, customs related processes. Because one nation has a different set of processes, the other has another set of processes. And when you connect, each of the nations has to recognize what the other is doing, and the other has to acknowledge that these processes are acceptable to it. So this is a huge task. It's a huge challenge, but this has to be done. So institution building. Ultimately, who will look after the entire network? Someone has to manage, maintain, ensure communication, coordination among the different nations, among the processes, among the data that is required to be exchanged between the nations if they want to have connectivity. So all this has to be done. Then commodities. Which commodities will you look at? And the regulatory framework. All these things are important standards which are acceptable to both countries. It can't happen that you have a different set of standards and then goods get stuck at some land port or some seaport. So standards are important. I'll just give two examples. Green corridor. Now recently the Singapore Maritime Week was conducted, and India took a very leading role in that. A green corridor is important now because energy continues to be important, and as long as we are dependent on oil, these corridors will be important. But even when oil's importance goes down, the fact that other alternative fuels are being looked at, whether it's green hydrogen, green methanol, green ammonia, these are all important also in Southeast Asia. Singapore is a prime example. They need fuel, and like all of us, they need fuel, and they are happy to invest or to use green ammonia. Now Singapore can't produce green ammonia because they don't have the land to do that. So India has a huge coastline. We have water, we have land, we have wind, we have sun, and we have people. Now can you think of a bigger set of resources? All five of them in abundance. So we can produce green energy, we can produce green hydrogen. And I remember discussing with the Honorable Minister of Singapore a couple of years back when we were in Norway, and they have the demand, we can supply. So the only thing is now to connect the dots, ensure that the supplier and the demander, both of them are put together in this common network. And when such periodic events happen that disrupt supply chains, then you can just fall back on these alternate mechanisms so that your resilience is maintained. The other, of course, I talked about was digital corridors. Digital corridors can happen provided the set of conditions that I mentioned, whether it's infrastructure or standardization or process or regulatory frameworks or identification of commodities. All this also is put in line. Otherwise, seamless connectivity is not possible, supply chain resilience is not possible, and we have to, of course, decentralize. It is not possible for the world to look at one single country which will produce everything and then the rest of the world will consume. We have to decentralize supply chains, we have to create local buffers, and I think a lot of lessons in the past few months for India, for ASEAN, and a lot of lessons from the past few years during the course of several events that have happened, starting from COVID, and when costs have increased. During COVID, costs increased from about $2,000 to $4,000 per container to about $15,000. Now look at the costs. So self-reliance is important. Similarly, supply chain resilience is important. So I'm glad that the RIS, CMEC and the AIC have joined together to put together this event. And all of you, I hope during the course of today, I see that the sessions are very rich in terms of content, in terms of participation, and I hope that the recommendations that come out of this roundtable will be useful to all stakeholders concerned. And Timor Leste, the ambassador was just talking to me. He said he's just been here for 11 months. Welcome, sir, to India. You will enjoy your stay here in India, and I'm sure we have a lot of these roundtables, etc. going on, and I'm sure you will not only learn but also be able to contribute to these sessions. And we have Dr. Ratna. आपने डॉक्टरेट तो लिया है ना? I hope PhD तो है. So Dr. Ratna, he has joined us and he has huge experience in SCAP. So I'm sure that with such luminaries, you will be able to generate a lot of light, if not a lot, also a lot of heat. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting the very significant challenges which we are facing on the economic front and the importance of maritime connectivity, which is important to navigate those challenges. Now, we are fortunate that His Excellency Carlito Nunes has joined us. He is Ambassador of Timor-Leste. He was kind enough to agree and deliver special remarks. So I would request His Excellency to please come on the dais and deliver his special remarks. Thank you, sir.
Excellencies, colleagues, head of missions, and also a representative of foreign missions who are here, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege for me to address this distinguished gathering on strengthening maritime connectivity between India and ASEAN and on advancing resilient supply chains for sustainable and regional growth and sustainability. At the outset, I would like to underscore a historical milestone. Timor-Leste now stands as the 11th member of ASEAN. This important development affects ASEAN's commitment to inclusivity and regional unity, while also enhancing its maritime dimension with the addition of a strategically located island nation. Timor-Leste includes and enriching ASEAN's collective potential, particularly in strengthening maritime cooperation, expanding connectivity network, and fostering more diversified and resilient supply chains across the Indo-Pacific. Excellencies, we met at the time when the global landscape is marked by uncertainty and disruptions. Ongoing geopolitical tension in parts of the Middle East, alongside evolving dynamics among Western economies, have had significant implications for global trade, energy security, and supply chains. These developments have highlighted the vulnerabilities of overdependence on limited routes and partners. They serve as a reminder that resilience must be built through diversification, regional cooperation, and stronger connectivity frameworks. In this context, maritime connectivity emerges as a critical pillar. Efficient shipping networks, modern ports, and seamless logistics systems are essential not only for economic growth, but also for ensuring stability in time of global disruption. The partnership between ASEAN and India is therefore of strategic importance, both to share a vision of a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific where connectivity acts as a catalyst for prosperity. Excellencies, Timor-Leste as an island nation threats that the oceans as a vital for livelihoods, security, and sustainable economic growth. The ocean is central to its national vision. To support this, we are investing in key infrastructure, including the development of modern port facilities such as Tibar Bay, aimed at improving trade logistics and positioning the country as an emerging maritime node in this region. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with Timor-Leste now part of ASEAN, there is a timely opportunity to further strengthen cooperation with India. India's expertise in maritime development, digital port systems, and ocean-based industries and complement Timor-Leste's priorities. Collaboration can expand it in areas such as: first, capacity building in maritime governance; second, port modernization and logistic efficiency; third, equally importance in the need to enhance connectivity. Strengthening shipping linkages between India and Timor-Leste will reduce transit time, improve trade efficiency, and support supply chains diversification. Additionally, improving air connectivity, whether through direct routes or enhanced regional connections, will facilitate business, tourism, and people-to-people engagement. Excellencies, in an era of global uncertainty, integrating emerging economies like Timor-Leste into regional frameworks is not just a benefit, it's essential. It contributes to a more balanced, inclusive, and resilient regional architecture. In conclusion, strengthening maritime connectivity, building resilient supply chains must remain central to our collective efforts. I'm confident that through deeper cooperation between ASEAN and India, we can navigate global challenges and unlock new opportunities for shared growth and stability. Thank you very much. Bahut dhanyawad. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for such a wonderful remarks. So now we have the recorded message from His Excellency Dato Muzaffar Shah Mustafa, High Commissioner of Malaysia to India. So can I request our technician to start and play the recorded message?
Professor Sachin Kumar Sharma, Director General, Research and Information System for Developing Countries, RIS. Dr. T.K. Ramachandran, former Secretary, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, and Professor of Practice Centre for Maritime Economy and Connectivity, CIMEC, RIS. Excellency Ambassador Srinivas Kotru, Ambassador of India to ASEAN. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning, namaste. It is a privilege for me to join you at this roundtable on fostering maritime connectivity and enhancing supply chain resilience between India and ASEAN, as we embark on strengthening our engagement further under the ASEAN-India Year of Maritime Cooperation 2026. I wish to thank the ASEAN-India Centre at RIS for convening this timely discussion here in New Delhi, a city closely associated with key milestones in ASEAN-India relations. Over the past 3 decades, ASEAN-India relations have evolved into a comprehensive strategic partnership, established in 2022 and underpinned by regular high-level engagements and an expanding scope of cooperation. Both sides continue to reaffirm ASEAN's centrality and a shared commitment to a free, open and rule-based Indo-Pacific, in accordance with international law, including the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. India's Act East policy, alongside initiatives such as SAGA, Mahasaga and the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, IPOI, underscores the centrality of Southeast Asia in its maritime outlook. The designation of 2026 as the ASEAN-India Year of Maritime Cooperation reflects this convergence and our shared objective to ensure that the maritime domain remains a source of stability and prosperity. From Malaysia's perspective, as a littoral state along critical sea lines of communication, maritime cooperation is directly linked to our economic security and regional resilience. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, ASEAN and India are maritime neighbors, connected by some of the world's busiest trade routes. Maritime connectivity is therefore not only about physical infrastructure, but a geo-economic driver of growth, trade and integration. While ASEAN-India trade has exceeded $100 billion in recent years, significant untapped potential remains. Existing frameworks, including the ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement (ITIGA), currently under review with the aim to conclude this year, and ongoing efforts to enhance multimodal connectivity, such as the India-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway, provide a strong foundation. However, challenges persist. Infrastructure gaps, regulatory fragmentation, and even digitalization, as well as standards and customs inefficiencies, continue to constrain seamless connectivity. Addressing this will require sustained political commitment, targeted investments, and stronger public-private partnerships. Recent global disruptions, from pandemics and geopolitical tension to instability in key maritime regions, have highlighted the vulnerability of concentrated supply chains. For ASEAN and India, enhancing supply chain resilience is therefore a strategic priority. This entails diversifying production networks, strengthening transparency, and improving logistics efficiency. Our complementary strengths provide a strong basis for collaboration. ASEAN's role in manufacturing, electronics, mechanical appliances, vegetable fats and oil, combined with India's scale and growing industrial and digital capabilities, creates opportunities to co-develop integrated value chains supported by efficient maritime corridors. In this regard, three priorities merit emphasis. First, improving port infrastructure and regional connectivity. Second, strengthening, harmonizing, and simplifying regulatory cooperation, particularly in standards and custom. Third, accelerating digitalization across logistics and supply chain systems. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the ASEAN-India Joint Statement on Maritime Cooperation and the Plan of Action 2026-2030 provide a clear framework for advancing collaboration. In this regard, Malaysia wishes to highlight three key priorities. First, connectivity for inclusive growth. Enhance maritime, air, road and rail linkages, synergizing with the Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity MPAC 2025 and India's initiative to boost seamless, resilient infrastructure and economic ties. Second, a sustainable and integrated blue economy. Promote green, efficient maritime transport, sustainable fisheries, marine biodiversity conservation, pollution control, including marine debris, and new marine-based renewable energy, aligning with international law like UNCLOS. Lastly, maritime safety and cooperation, which includes the ASEAN-India Maritime Exercise, or AIME. The first edition was co-hosted by India and Singapore in 2023, with the second edition tentatively in September this year to be co-hosted by India and the Philippines. Cooperation through the AIME strengthens information sharing, capacity building, confidence building measures, search and rescue, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, early warning system, maritime domain awareness, and countering threats like piracy, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, trafficking, and armed robbery on key routes. Malaysia remains committed to advancing this agenda. We support efforts to expedite the review of the ITIGA, strengthen MSME participation, and advance initiatives under the ASEAN-India Fund for Digital Future. In addition, we also see strong potential for collaboration in energy connectivity, including through the ASEAN Power Grid, drawing on India's experience in grid modernization and cross-border trade. Equally important is the role and involvement of the private sector. Expanding business, tourism, education, and cultural linkages will be essential to sustaining long-term cooperation. Looking ahead, Malaysia is committed to partnering with India and ASEAN members on practical initiatives like smart ports, digital trade corridors, and capacity building programs, ensuring benefits reach beyond major hubs to foster inclusive growth. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as the Philippines lead ASEAN in 2026 under the theme Navigating Our Future Together, this roundtable plays a meaningful role in shaping the maritime dimensions of that future. In a complex and evolving environment, our shared challenge is to transform vulnerabilities into opportunities through strong cooperation and practical outcomes. Let us therefore ensure that the ASEAN-India Year of Maritime Cooperation serves as a catalyst for tangible partnerships that enhance connectivity, strengthen supply chains, and promote sustainability. Lastly, Malaysia is committed to partnering closely with India and ASEAN partners to advance these shared maritime goals through practical, inclusive initiatives that deliver tangible benefits for all. With that, I thank you for your attention. Dhanyavad.
So, on the behalf of ASEAN-India Centre, let me thank His Excellency Dato Muzaffar Shah Mustafa for his kind words, and also he has given so many suggestions where India and ASEAN can work together to build a resilient future. With this, we have come to an end to this session, but I would also like to thank His Excellency Nunes for his kind and very insightful remarks, and I'm also grateful to Dr. T.K. Ramachandran. He was also able to spare time and join us, and he has kind of shared very insightful remarks, and he has highlighted certain issues which we are facing in the maritime domain. So thank you very much. Before we break for tea for 10 minutes, we have a token of appreciation for our guests. So may I request our staff to get those gifts, and I would request my senior colleague, Professor Rajan Sudesh Ratna, to do the honor. We can start with His Excellency Nunes and then Dr. Ramachandran. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Ramachandran, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So, with this, we conclude this inaugural session. Then we will reassemble at 11:30, sharp at 11:30, for our first technical session, which is on strengthening India-ASEAN maritime connectivity, trade infrastructure dimension. And we have a wonderful panel for this session. We are fortunate that Dr. Nisha Taneja will be moderating this session, and then we have two scholars from ASEAN side. We have Ms. Ajhar from Bangkok. She will be joining virtually, and then we have Dr. Peter from Malaysia. He will also be joining virtually. From India, we have our own Commodore Shishir Shotria, and then we are also fortunate to have one of the most significant name in the logistic, Dr. Preetham Banerjee with us. So we will have this session. We'll assemble at 11:30. Now the tea is served outside. So please make sure to come back at 11:30. Thank you. Yes.
Yes.